Hello everybody, welcome to the FTOG server, ToddytheBody here, Quantus pack. I know that there's been a delay since the last video, but I'm sure that there are people that are watching that are not up to date on the Let's Play and they don't care. They just want to see what we're doing today. So let's do what we're doing today and then maybe we'll chat a little bit. So where are we? All I've done is I moved my storage and really command center to over here, so this is now where we're doing things. We'll take a look at it later, but let's go ahead and dive right in. As you can tell by what the title of the video is, I really want to get into some Rftools control stuff. So what we're doing today, I want to, well, something that's always handy is to have a way to mass sort and store your items that you get. Like say if you go out, you know, caving or dungeon raiding or something like that, you're gonna have a bunch of stuff in your inventory just like this. Okay, well, if you go over to your scanner, I know that if you have drawers you can just right click on this a couple times, but what if you don't? What if you have a bunch of things like this that don't really stack too well, or you don't have a drawer for them and everything? If you're using AE2, that would be one solution. If you're using refined storage, that would be another. Sure, you can pull out from a chest real fast with those, or if for some reason we ever get logic pipes back, you know, there's ways to do that. If you're using Rftools, you'll have the scanner here because you can't go into each one. I mean, you can, but it'll take forever, and you just want to put stuff in. A lot of times with Rftools scanner here, things won't go in right. Like, see how it went down to my bar? Yeah, so I want to fix that, and Rftools can do it. Last season we used Ender.io to sort and store all of our items. This time I want to use Rftools control. So let me show you some things that we've got here beforehand, just so that we can reference them later. We've got an anchor to chunk load, and see if we can peek behind here. Oh, yeah, I got it. All right, cool. So we've got a node back here. The node, the channel is called craft, and the node is called pool. The node name is more important than the channel name, but we'll do the channel name later. And then we've got a comparator here, and the reason for that is so that when we put stuff inside of our chest to be stored, the comparator is gonna sense that, and it will send a signal in that direction and into the node. So now that you know all that, let's get on with our story. So let's cover all this back up, and now what do we've got? We got to make our program, right? So we've got a clear program here, ready to go. Let's pull this out of there and then put this right inside there, and we're ready. I've already got a program, but I thought that I would work through it with you. Okay, so Rftools control. When you want it to start any program, you have to have an event to get it going, and those are the yellows right here. A lot of times people will use a repeat so that you set a certain amount of time, and then after that amount of time it will check again or do the program again. What we want to do is we want to set redstone on. So when we sense a redstone signal, then it will go through the program and not any other time. Okay, so redstone on. We want to sense it from one of the sides, either a processor or from one of the nodes. And we are going to use that node back there that was named pool. And the side that we are going to sense it from is going to be south from that side because the comparator is pointing that direction. Alright, so let's go ahead and pick a side and decide what will start this off. We want to name the node. If you keep this blank, then it will check from the processor. So do the node name, and we've got south. Alright, so now that we are getting a signal, we want to read the signal from the node. I know that that might seem kind of redundant, but here's the reason why. Let's say you have two different stacks of items or two different non-stackable items, or it doesn't matter, just two items that take two slots. Okay, when you put one item in there, or if you put a whole load of items in there, this program will take one of the slots and then put it into your storage, and then it'll stop. So what we want it to do is that we want it to loop around and then check to see if there is still a signal coming from the comparator, which it would be if you have more than one stack in there, right? Okay, so we want to check to see if it's still getting a signal from the pool node and from the south side. Okay, and north-south, there we go. All right, now we're ready for the next one. So it'll read it, but then we have to do something with that. We have to tell the program, like, okay, if it's this signal, then do that. If it's that signal, then don't. So we want to get what that last number was, the last what is that, integer value. And then we want to see if it is equal to 0. Now let me show you. That's what the pinks do. They will read whatever number you have gotten back. So I get, what does it say? Test, I guess. So we'll just call it test since that's what it's called. And we picked the equal. So if it's equal to 0, it'll do one thing. If it's not 0, it'll do another. All right, so let's get going here. If it is not 0, so we want to go red, right? Red means false, green means true. So if it's not 0, then that means that there are things inside of it. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and count the items that are inside this ender chest over here. Alright, so we want to count. Here it is, count the items inside the external, but it means external inventory. Now, we are not going to name a node because we want it to read it from the processor. And here's a processor right here, and the node that the ender chest, or the side that the ender chest is on, is going to be the east side, that way. Alright, so let's go back into this. The inventory is on the east side, east, southwest, east. There we go. And then the access, what this is for is like if you have a furnace. I have some puppies in case you hear them. If you have a furnace, the top slot is for stuff going in, you know, the bottom slot is for taking stuff out, the side slot is for putting in. That's what that's for, like what side of the block. But it doesn't matter with the chest, so we'll leave that on default there. Okay. So then it's going to say, well, what slot do you want to check? We want to check all of them, so we're leaving that blank. This is going to be real easy. And it's going to say, what item do you want to check for? Well, we want to check for any item, so we're leaving that blank. Or dictionary, blank. Routable, blank. All we wanted to do is look into this inventory and get a number, and then test that out. All right, so here's what we're doing. So just like this over here, we want to get a number. So we're going to get that last number, just like that. And if that last number is 0, or not, then it's going to do something else. So if it is not 0, let's get the red and then the green on top again. All right, if it is not 0, if it is 0, so that means there's nothing else in there. We want to stop the program. We want to stop taking stuff out of it. So operation stop program, that ends it. So it's not taking up any more ticks on the server or anything. Rftools control is good for servers. Let me tell you that, as long as you do your programming right. But let's say that the amount of items in the inventory is not 0. What do we want to do? We want to pull those items from the inventory and put it into the processor. Unfortunately, there's not a function yet where you can take from one inventory and put it into another. You always have to move it to the processor and then move it from the processor to somewhere else. So we want to take items from the inventory into the processor. That's what this box means, processor. This is inventory, and we're going in that direction. But the operation is called fetch items. So let's take a look at that now. So the inventory that we want to place the block, that we want to grab the items from, we still want to grab it from the east where that ender chest is. So let's do east, just like that. We want to take from any slot, any item, any amount, slot out, that is the important one, but let's go ahead and look at the rest. Or dictionary, routable, not important. Slot out. So that what that's asking is what slot in the processor do you want to put items? I'm going to put 0 here, and I'm going to show you why. So when you go inside the processor, what you have to do is you have to allocate different slots over here to the functions of your program. Okay, so this is an auto crafting recipe that we are going to get into next episode. I'll show that off and show you how to do it. I know I've got a couple other videos on it, but I right clicked on this and nothing happened. Are we stuck? Oh, there it is. All right, it's a little slow. Okay, but here are some of the items that I have for AutoCraft already. But like I said, we're going to get into that maybe next time. What we're doing today is the pulling of stuff out. Oh, allocating. So this is where that card is going to go. So if we click up here, we can allocate different spots. So I just picked the one out in the corner. I don't really need it. The first spot you pick is going to be 0 every time. So let's say that's the first spot that I pick, and then I'll pick another one, and then 1, and then 2, and if you have some more of that, then so on and so forth, they'll just go up in number. So if we look at the other one for the auto crafting, I'm going from 0 to 11, but the one to pull stuff out is going to be just that one in the corner, 0, and that is why I picked slot out 0, so it puts it in that slot. Okay, so now we have our items in the processor. What we want to do now is move the items from the processor into another inventory. Seems kind of redundant, but like I said, unfortunately we don't have a program or a function, or what are these called, opcode, to go from inventory to inventory. So we have to do it this way. Okay, so now it's going to be asking let's go to the top there. It's going to be asking what inventory do you want to move it to. All right, well, I want to leave that blank. And the reason for that, if you don't know, is that if you leave it blank, the inventory it moves it to is if you have, and I right clicked on this again and it's not showing it. Okay, here it is. If you have one of these storage control module inside here, it will move it to that inventory. What a storage control module is, if you put it inside of a tablet, like you see how I have it here, this will access my storage. It's pretty much a remote control for this scanner right here. So if I right click on this, is the exact same thing as if I were to open this up right here. And I have a storage control module inside my tablet. To do that, I have a storage control module right here, and they are both linked to that scanner. So if you leave it blank, it puts it into that. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to leave the inventory blank, put it in there. It's going to put it to any slot. We're going to put in any amount, and it's going to ask us, well, what slot in the processor do you want to pull from? Now, if you remember from before, we put everything in slot 0. So we're picking slot 0 to pull from also. All right. So then once it does that, what do we want to happen? Do we want it to stop? No, we don't want it to stop, because if we have more than one stack inside there, we want it to go ahead and take care of those. So what we want to do is we want to loop it around. So these are called wires. What they do is they pretty much connect opcodes to each other if they're not immediately adjacent to each other. And we want to bring this around to write. What I was doing before, I was bringing it to here, but I think what I would like to do is bring it all the way around to this one. Now let me since we're doing this, let me just go ahead. My thinking was, and let's do it like this. What it would do is it would put that item into the inventory, circle around, check the number of items inside there again, and then just keep on doing that over and over and over again. Well, sometimes, I don't know if it's like the speed that the comparators will light up or unpower or whatever, but it gets items caught up. So I think what I want to do is bring it on over here like I was saying before. Here we go. Make sure all your green dots are in the direction that you want to go. And then what it's going to do is it'll take an item and then it'll come back around here and it'll check the signal strength. So if there are more items in there, it's going to go ahead and go through the stuff because it's going to be catching a signal from that comparator. So it's just going to go round and round and round and round until one day it reads that there are 0 items, and then it will stop. Okay? Now, I don't know what it is, just, you know, bugs in Minecraft or server timing or what, but every so often this still gets caught up. So what we want to do here, let's go ahead and link this around, because if the signal strength is 0, right, we want it to just go ahead and stop the program. Just like this stopped, we want this one to go ahead and stop also. In fact, we almost don't even really need this, right? I don't know. It just seems like it works better that way. Okay, but what I was saying before, for some reason, just magical bugs with Minecraft or Minecraft servers, or whatever reason, for some reason, it will still get caught up with this. So what we're going to do is we're going to end up doing the timing is called repeat, but where after a certain amount of time, it'll go through the program anyways. What we're going to do is we're going to set one of those, and we're going to set it for 5 seconds. So this is going by tick, 20 seconds, or 20 ticks is a second, 100 ticks is 5 seconds. So every 5 seconds, this is going to check to see if there are items inside there anyways. So you might be asking, well, why do you need both? And the answer for that is that when we do the auto crafting will put the byproducts of recipes inside this chest, and you need those items to go back into your inventory so that the crafting can continue. Like some of these more complicated recipes, it needs that byproduct to go back into your system, or not even the byproduct, but like the lower tier parts of the recipe to go back into your system so that you can pull them up and continue auto crafting. If you have to wait 5 seconds, like say if we don't have this right here and we're just doing timing for 5 seconds, and you can do it per tick, but that is going to load down your server. Remember what I said, if you do your programming right, this is nice for servers. So every 5 seconds, not too bad. Anyways, so we want this in here just in case it gets caught up from everything else. We want this in here so that when you are auto crafting and the item gets put back in there, it immediately gets put back into your system, and then you can continue auto crafting. If you're not going to do auto crafting with Rftools control at all, you don't need this. In fact, you don't need these three here. You can just plop this thing on the end of the fetch or count the items thing, and then have it loop around just like this. You know, you can keep the stop program. It'll work fine. I tried it with a quarry. It kept up with that every 5 seconds sort of deal, because it will loop around here, and the quarry will put items into the chest fast enough so that it'll keep looping around and keep taking the items out and keep putting them back into your storage. Okay, auto crafting, you need this. For everything else, you need this just because things tend to get bogged down when you're like putting a bunch of stuff in there all at one time. So that's it. Let's go ahead and hit save. So now that saved this program to this card. So if I did it exactly like I did before, or if I did it right, because I know this looks a little bit different already, then it should work. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's get a few different stacks of items, just like that. Put them all up on the top row. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to swipe across and make sure that everything goes in. So swipe, and then after 5 seconds it catches it. So I don't know if that's still there, if it's a ghost item. Yeah, ghost item. All right. So what I want to do now is make sure that the comparator feature is actually working. So what we're going to do is we're going to go across here, just make sure it gets taken immediately. Yep, it does. And it does. And it does. And it does. Awesome. So that's what I want to do. Let's go ahead and craft something. I could always use power cells. It's got a fairly complex recipe, so let's craft one of those. And it's going through, it's making the dimensional shards. There's a recipe for that. If you don't have the dimension mod, and then there we go, it made all that. So it worked with that also. And then if you know Rftools control, you're going to need one of these power cell cards also. So you can come over here, we can go ahead and link that real quick, and then we'll place that down, and that will add to our total power system storage. We might not use that cell right away, but at least it adds to our capacity. So now I can hold 19 million RF. Not too shabby. Is that right? Did I say that right? Yep. Count the zeros. Yep, 19 million. I can hold 19 million RF. So that is that. Next episode we will look at the auto crafting. We've got the where you can just throw stuff into your chest. If you noticed over here, I have an ender pouch. So if I'm on the run, I can throw stuff into here, and it will also get put away into our system. See, just to show it, there we go. It's put away. So good. It's something that I want to do. It works. And now, for all of you that don't follow the Let's Play, I hope you had a wonderful time. If you want to stay for the message, that would be awesome anyways, but let's just go ahead and talk a little bit. So if you notice, it's probably, I'm not counting, I don't know, a couple weeks since the last time I uploaded. I guess everybody goes through it where they just get into a funk and they just don't. Ooh, where did you come from? You weren't really there a while ago. I hope that my new command center isn't haunted. Let's go ahead and grab these. Yep. And then as we talk, maybe we'll fly around and see some of the different things that we did or changed. Okay, you can tell if you've seen in my inventory, I've got one of these guys now. So I can teleport around a little bit better. So we're back here. Let's go over to Tiger's Nest. This was the old command center, and I peeled everything out of here and moved it. I've added this over here. It's a booster, and inside it's got saturation. So instead of really eating, I do have the food still in my inventory, just kind of holding on to it and using it to run out of it, so I don't like just throw it on the ground and waste it. But we've got that. Let's walk around. I don't think there's anything new over there. Maybe we'll walk back over to where we were before. But yeah, I don't know. I just kind of got into a little bit of a funk where I just wasn't motivated. There were some things going on. We'll just say private things, real life, mostly. I work for a retailer. I'm a retail manager. If you haven't heard me say that 100 times before. And we went through a lot of training recently because they want to change some of the things they do with how stores are run, or at least how some of the ideas come around. Like normally you would think that the managers would come up with all of the ideas. In a lot of places, you know, they run the show. But they wanted to change it so that employees... Anyways, this big... It's not important to us. But I did have to go through a lot of training for that. And then afterwards, I had to come back to my store, and I had to get my store ready for it so that, you know, we could start implementing these changes. And I'm not the store manager. I'm the assistant store manager, which means that I pretty much do all the work. I mean, that's not true. I don't do all of it, but I do, like, a majority of the stuff. So, yeah, I had to get all that ready. Where are you guys coming from? Where were you at just now? Like, I'm getting goosebumps. Like, kind of did with the zombie because I had looked and then turned around and looked again, and then he was there. But that one really gave me goosebumps. Like, because I swear, we looked, right? We looked this way, I turned around, and there was a skeleton. So, I have got some dangerous areas up here. Must be up here is where they're spawning. So... let's go ahead and fix that while we can. Ooh, feather falling 3. If we were early game, that would be handy. So what I want to do is throw that into there, get some of those glow balls that we love so much. Awesome. There we are. And then turn on the X's while we do this. Whoop, there we are. Okay. So that was taking a whole bunch of time. Another thing is that if you follow the FTOG streams, those guys were playing some Dying Light, and you might have heard if you were watching that I love Dying Light, and I blame them for inviting me onto one of their streams to play some Dying Light with them, because then after that I just wanted to play Dying Light, and that's what I did with my free time. And I would like start thinking about, okay, well, I can either get ready for an episode, which I only have like, you know, 15 minutes for, or I can play on Dying Light and do like a quick side quest or something. So I always rationing. I always decided to do that, which I know it's bad because then the videos don't come out but that's what I was doing. I was even like considering, okay, well, if we're playing a lot of Dying Light, then let's do like nightmare mode with no HUD and play Dying Light together, and we can kind of do that because I've never done that. I've always played with the HUD. And then I saw Resident Evil 7 come out. I don't know. I guess I was sleeping, or maybe I was playing Minecraft and I just had no idea that Resident Evil 7 was out. Big fan of Resident Evil. So I played that. And then I started thinking, okay, well, let's do like Madhouse mode on... I was using this for teleporting over here. Not so much anymore now. Let's do Madhouse mode on Resident Evil 7 together on videos. But I don't know. I think after some talking with the guys and everything, I just decided, well, you know what? Let's come back. We've got Rftools control. I love Rftools control. I've already started doing some stuff. I've already started playing on some other things that I like to do with Rftools control. Let's hit this down here. There we go. And then we're out of snowballs. So we're probably going to be doing a lot of Rftools control. If you don't like this, then I don't know what to tell you. I mean, this, I know if you don't know it, it looks boring, but there is so much that you can do with Rftools control. What we're going to do, we're going to do the auto crafting. We're going to get into remote auto crafting, where you set up a chat detector and a player interface, and you can like, it'll scan your storage, and if you have like a certain item in one spot, like say if I want to make some more food, if I needed food, and I'm like, okay, well, make me another chili, I'm out, I'll put that there in that spot. I'll type in the chat, you know, food, and then hit enter, and then it will craft it. And you can do that with like the chat detector. This guy here, it'll send a redstone signal, and you can like send a redstone signal to the processor or a node, and it'll just auto, you know, you can program it to set to like make a certain item, and then you can like have underground somewhere, even in the walls or something like that, like a bunch of chat detectors with nodes on top of them, and you can have it like make certain things. Or well, I guess that would be without scanning your storage, but like say if you have the player interface here, player interface, this guy here, it will check this inventory, which is the exact same inventory as this right here, and then that's where it'll scan this item and say, oh, there's some chili there, so let's make some chili. Or, and I did this in Avant, and we'll do it again. Like, I loaded up one of these handy bag things with different items that I would want to craft on the run, and then all I would do is I would grab one, put it in the slot, and then I would type craft, and then it would do that. Another thing I want to do is I want to do one where I do pull, just like how that node is called. Oh, that's another thing. Man, the people who didn't want to stay for the message, they're going to miss out on that. To set up your thing, remember the channel was called craft. You have to do net setup craft, and then you hit enter, and then it looks for everything that's nearby. So then that's how you would find your node. Without that program to grab items out, it's not going to work. So I'll have to mention that in the next episode for everybody who didn't stick around. I'm probably going to get questions on that now. Anyways, so there's that. Oh, the pull command. I want to set it up so that a chat detector will search my inventory for whatever item I have up in this slot. Like say if I've got a bunch of stone in my inventory, or a bunch of cobble, or if I'm going out collecting sand or something from a desert, you know, I could put a piece of sand up there, and then I'll type pull, and it'll look and say, okay, well, that's a piece of sand, so go ahead and grab all of the rest of the sand and nothing else out of the inventory and put it into the storage. So that's something else you can do with Rftools control. You can have red or daylight sensors, so at night something happens, or some complicated task, or what we did before, like this, we set up some actual addition stuff, and you can automatically, you know, empower different items where it has to grab like, you know, 2 clay and 1 clay block and 1 light blue dye for a diamantine to empower some diamantine crystals. You know, it'll do that automatically, so you don't have to go through here and say, okay, now where's my light blue, and you know, all of that. So we'll have that we can do. Maybe we'll automate the Botania runes again, like we did in Avant. I thought that was pretty cool. Maybe I'll find a different way to do it this time. I would like to automate the slates like Thor did in Avant for blood magic. I would like to automate some blood magic itself. I would like to, with Rftools control. There's just so much that you can do. You know, you can, maybe you're running out of a certain type of log, and you can have a tree farm that would like plant that type of sapling, and then it would cut it down for you and then shut off like when you get a certain amount of it. You can set auto crafting, like say, okay, say these for extra utilities, you've got these, and it's not in there. I put it all over here. All right, you've got these upgrade speed things. Okay, check out the recipe. What do you need? You need this crafting recipe. You need this. You need that to go inside the resonator, so you can program that to put weighted pressure plates inside the resonator and all that. But say you don't want to wait for that, because if you don't have the speed upgrades for the resonator, it's going to go pretty slow. So let's say you just want to keep 64 in your inventory at all times. You can use Rftools control to scan your inventory, and it will automatically do it without you having to tell it to do that. Or what if you don't want to craft a power cell every time? What if you just want to go into here and say, hey, I want a power cell because there's this thing that I want to power right now. If you don't want to have to come back here and craft it and everything, you just want to grab it, you can do that. It can scan it, see if there's one in there, and then craft it. And you can like set it to like every 30 seconds it'll check to see if you have a power cell in there. If not, it'll make it and then put it inside there. So there's that. There's just so much. And now that we've unlocked Rftools control in the Quantus pack, I think that we can really get started with some of the technical stuff. I know a lot of the people who have just subscribed for Quantus probably think of me more as a builder. Oh, I still have the X's on. There we go. Think of me more as a builder because, you know, I've tried to do some building while we didn't have some of the techie mods. But I'm a tech guy mostly. Like, that's how I started. So we're going to get back into tech again. You know, we'll still do some building because I've been refraining from building out here because I want to get that bridge that goes from here and then goes all the way down to there first before we start building out here, because I want a way for people to walk down there, even though people fly all over the place now. So that's what we're waiting on as far as like developing this area. At least I've got from the track all the way through here now. I still need to do something with this doorway. And I plan on like doing something so that it wraps around the side. I think that would be cool. So I don't know if it's going to be like an animal, like that can be an animal mouth and then their body kind of wraps around the side like all decorative like, or just some designs like this is down here. It's not really anything. It's just some blocks placed that, you know, look a certain way. Do something with this. We're not going to do any pixel art like we tried to do with that crystal, the blood magic crystal over there, because that turned out horrible. But yeah, so now we're going to be doing more tech because we have Rftools control. And especially now that we have auto crafting, it'd be a lot easier to build or to craft some of these things. Like say if you run out of piping for extra utilities, I don't want to make extra utilities pipe all day long. So we'll set up a recipe. We'll do this. I've got all my recipes inside here. We'll talk about that when we get into the next episode. But anyways, I think that I've rambled on long enough. We spent all of our time mainly in this one little room. And I hate doing that for an episode, but, you know. So anyways, I'll see you all next time. You have a good day, good night, and bye-bye.